Alright, so I'm releasing this video a little late because my sources usually deadline for these stories, these recaps of the trial. And this time they decided not to do a recap. So I had to find another source. So I went to Variety. So this is the Jonathan Majors trial, day number 7. Okay, so Jonathan Majors' ex-girlfriend finished her testimony Friday, her 4th day on the witness stand in the Creed 3 actor's trial for his alleged assault earlier this year. 2 more witnesses, including the police officer who arrested Majors in March, also testified. Oh, so this is going to be action-packed. And from what I've seen, things are not looking good for Jonathan. After the defense's cross-examination on Thursday, Grace Jabbari returned to the stand for a short redirect by her lawyer Friday morning. On Thursday, she testified about her injuries after Majors' alleged assault in March, saying that the next morning is when the pain sunk in. When I woke up, I felt like I'd been hit by a bus. Her friend and colleague Holly Blakely was called next as a witness. Blakely and Jabbari worked as dancers and choreographers together. Blakely had met Majors in London several times when he was dating Jabbari. Blakely said he was sweet and charming when she first met him 2.5 years ago, and that he and Jabbari were very loving. Blakely then noticed changes in Jabbari as the couple continued their relationship. Blakely said Jabbari would be in the house a lot more and seemed to have less interest in herself. She was working a lot less and was someone who's very driven and has a lot of energy for life. I saw a lot of that disappear. Majors is accused of assaulting Jabbari in the backseat of a car on March 25th. Jabbari testified on Tuesday that she saw a text message on Majors' phone from another woman that read, "Wish I was kissing you right now." Oh, okay. So yeah, I can see why she would get upset. Okay. She took the phone out of his hands to see who sent the message, and he forcefully retrieved it, according to Jabbari. She said this caused bruising, swelling, and excruciating pain, and she had a swollen finger and a cut behind her ear. Blakely testified that Jabbari called her the morning after Majors' alleged assault and sent photos of her injuries. The two spent the day talking on the phone for several hours about what had happened. "I'd never heard her like that before," Blakely said. Quiet. Wrecked, in shock, like she'd been crying. In a way, it was entirely different emotional landscape. It was different. She was very, very broken, a very traumatized person. On the morning of March 26th, the day after the alleged assault, Majors called 911 regarding Jabbari's mental state. In her testimony, Jabbari said she had taken sleeping pills in the night before to help fall asleep, due to the pain she was in, and woke up on the floor of a walk-in closet in the apartment she shared with Majors. The NYPD officer who responded to the 911 call and arrested Majors that same day testified in court on Friday afternoon. Officer Brendan Swain, a domestic violence prevention officer in New York's 10th Precinct, identified Majors in court and reviewed his personal body cam footage on the witness stand. The footage started by showing Swain and another officer being escorted by Majors into his apartment, where Jabbari was laying on the floor of the closet. Swain testified that he had noticed Jabbari's middle finger was bruised and that she had a cut behind her right ear that was 1.5 inches long. His body cam footage showed EMTs and more officers arriving to the apartment. Swain took Majors into another room to ask Jabbari privately what had happened to cause her injuries. She whispered, saying that she didn't want him right outside the room, Swain testified. She seemed scared and started to cry. Swain had taken photos of Jabbari's injuries, which were shown to the jury. and said, based on what we had so far, I knew bare minimum there'd be a domestic incident report filed. There was a domestic incident that had occurred. Major's attorney, Priya Chaudhry, had alleged it was Jabari who assaulted Majors in the vehicle that night and not the other way around. I don't know why it can't be both. The defense has also argued that Jabari fabricated the allegations to get back at Majors after their breakup. Yeah, okay. They met in August 2021 on the London set of Marvel's Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania and dated for 2 years before Majors ended the relationship on the night of the alleged assault. Well, I guess, she would have broke it off anyway, even if he didn't beat her, because, well, he got a text from a woman saying that she wished she was kissing him. I mean, unless it was unsolicited and the woman in question was delusional, I would want to break it off. I mean, come on. So I'm not surprised he would break it off. I mean, it's obvious he's interested in someone else. So Majors is on trial for 3 misdemeanor counts of assault and harassment to which he's pleaded not guilty. If convicted, he could face up to a year in prison. Now, I've seen other articles where there were text messages where he supposedly admitted. Okay, let's go to the Hollywood Reporter. Let me see. Oh no, that's old. Let's me go to the AP because I saw some headlines where he supposedly admitted in text to assaulting. Now, I don't know if it was Jabari or a previous relationship. So, this one is titled, Jonathan Majors begged accuser to avoid hospital, warning of possible investigation, messages show. All right. Which, to be honest, even if he wasn't the cause, if she were to go with certain injuries, then those investigations would be triggered regardless. So, the actor Jonathan Majors begged his former girlfriend not to seek medical attention after an incident that left her with a head injury last year, warning she had no perspective of what could happen if the truth got out, according to previously undisclosed text messages read at the actor's criminal trial on Friday. This is proof that he's so full of himself. Seriously, he beat if his girlfriend is injured and he did it by accident, he felt bad, he should want to, care about her. All he cares about is himself. So, yay. Yeah, I started being on Team Jonathan Majors, and I'm really, really, really falling off of that. They will also ask you questions, as I don't think you actually protect us. It could lead to an investigation, even if you do lie and they suspect something. Majors wrote to his girlfriend, Grace Jabari, on September 22nd, 2022. Wait a minute. So this was, this happened in March of this year. So he assaulted her previously? Is this what I'm reading? Jabari replied that she would tell doctors she bumped her head, assuring Majors, why would I tell them what really happened when it's clear I want to be with you? Oh yeah, definitely battered wife syndrome. Wow. It's amazing how quick that could happen. They were only together for 2 years, and it was less at this point. Wow. The messages were read on the 5th day of the Manhattan trial against Jonathan Majors, a rising Hollywood star who is fighting to salvage his reputation after his arrest for allegedly assaulting Jabari in a separate incident months later in New York City. Wait, 5th day? We're on the 7th day. I'm very, very confused. Is this an old... No, it's not old. I'm confused then. Alright. Additional information about how she sustained the injuries during the September altercation, which took place in London, were not discussed in court. The 6-person jury was instructed to consider the message as background as they assessed the assault and harassment charges stemming from Major's alleged attack on Jabari in the backseat of a car on March 25th. Okay, granted, it should be considered background, and just, knowing that it happened before. But, I mean, let's face it, people aren't going to just think of that as background. They're going to think, well, if he did it once, he probably did it again. And that's just the way humans work. I mean, it's entirely possible that this time he didn't do it, but by introducing this, you're just begging the jury to find him guilty. Prosecutors have said Majors exhibited a cruel and manipulative pattern of abuse, culminating with a backseat confrontation in which he struck her in the side of the head, twisted her arm behind her back, and broke her middle finger. Major's attorneys maintained that Jabari was the instigator of the struggle. During several days of grueling questions this week, the defense pressed Jabari about videos showing her partying in the aftermath of the alleged assault, as well as the vague statements about her injuries that she gave police and medical professionals on the morning after the March confrontation. Okay, so now first off, like I mentioned during the first article I read, it can be both. I mean, maybe she started getting, started hitting Jonathan, or, trying to grab the phone or whatever, because, well, I would be pissed off too if I found out that he was cheating on me. And under the light of she covered for him when he did this previously, when he heard her previously, of course I would be upset if I thought that the guy I was with was cheating on me. That would make sense. So, why can't it be both? And then, about the partying. That one bothers me. Because, yes, she claimed that she didn't realize the extent of her injuries. And who knows, maybe he's, and she is a dancer, so she's used to being in pain. But maybe this was even more common, and so she just didn't think it was a big deal at this point anymore. Who knows? So, but yeah, I'm still curious about the partying part. Now, as far as the vague statements about her injuries that she gave police and medical professionals, based on the text messages from September, I was obviously, to the very last minute, trying to protect Jonathan. He probably had her so scared of what would happen, not just to him, but possibly even to her, if she were to tell the truth. So, of course he's going to be vague. Because already in September she was willing to cover up for him. This is battered wife syndrome. This is battered spouse syndrome, whatever it's called now. Because that's what abusers do. They get the person they're abusing to cover up the abuse because for whatever reason they feel like they can't leave the abuser. And so, yeah. Yeah, so of course she's not going to come crying and saying, all the bad things that Majors did to her, because in her mind she's still wanting to be with him because he has her convinced that that's the way it should be or something. Anyway, that line of questioning may have backfired. In an unexpected decision on Friday, Judge Michael Gaffey said the defense's aggressive attempt to impugn Jabari's character had opened the door for permitting text messages about the earlier altercation to be read aloud in court. Oh yeah, nothing like trying to claim that you're the bad guy and the judge saying, oh really, you're going to go that route. All right, if you're going to, treat the witness like this, we're going to prove that no, this is a pattern that your client does. So yeah, things are not looking good for Majors, and it doesn't sound like he's the great guy that some people thought he was. So yeah. Anyway, those messages, which were previously sealed, showed Jabari explaining to Majors that the recent head injury had left her unable to sleep and in need of a stronger painkiller. I would not go to the doctor if you don't feel safe with me doing so, she adds. Later in the conversation, Majors accuses Jabari of rejecting his love, then repeatedly threatens to take his own life. I'm a monster. I'm a horrible man, he wrote. I'm killing myself soon. I've already put things in motion. It's just boggles my mind how women, domestic violence victims, are so caught up in this. She must have been completely alone. No support system, completely cut off from everyone. Because how in the world could he have gotten such a power over her so quickly? And then to constantly say that he's going to take his own life. I'm a monster. I'm a horrible man. Ironically, you're actually being truthful. But, I would like to think that if someone said that to me, I'd be like, sure, go for it. If you really want to kill yourself, do it. Of course, I've been contemplating suicide since I was 17, so maybe that might have something to do with my nonchalantness when it comes to this. At the time, Majors and Jabari were living together in London as the actor filmed the second season of the Disney Plus series Loki. Prior to his arrest, Majors was set to serve as a key supervillain in the Marvel multiverse, reprising his role as Kang the Conqueror in 2 upcoming Avengers films. The fate of those films, along with other projects he was involved with, remain uncertain. And now that this background information has come out, yeah, this is not looking good. So even if Kang does remain in Marvel, it's probably going to be recast because, yeah, it's been brought out that he is an abuser. And, yeah, that this is not good. I'm actually surprised that, I get that in this regard, in this particular case, he doesn't necessarily have had to have been abusive. But the fact that he was before, I can see why he sealed it. Because, of course, it's just human nature. Oh, he did it before, he must have done it again. Now, granted, it's not necessarily so, but it's going to be in your mind. So unless they can come up with a perfectly good reason, perfectly good alibi, basically, as to how he wasn't the one who did all that. Because, you know, there are videos of her clubbing and she looked perfectly fine, or whatever. Things are not looking good for him. And I'm sorry to say, he might have just screwed himself. Because the one thing, and his lawyers are complete morons, because they kept that, they were able to get that sealed. They were able to get that background information sealed. It was only because they were badgering Jabari about her being the perpetrator herself that they just kept pressing and pressing and pressing, that the judge is like, fine, if you're going to be that way, let's unseal the evidence that, you know, I tried to keep private because of what it's going to do. And it's what I thought it was. It's proof that he's an abuser. And, oh boy, is he an abuser. They were only together for 2 years, and yet he had such power over her. He was abusive. I don't know, I guess she was cut off from all her friends and family. I mean, I do not know how she managed to get into that situation. Because it's just, yeah, the psychology of how this happens to women is just weird. It's just, in some ways, fascinating. I do not understand how she quickly fell into that pattern of behavior, unless, you know, she comes from a family where her father was abusive to her mother or something. I don't know. There must have been something in her background, because to fall into that so quickly is just really, really bizarre to me. But anyway, I'm just repeating myself at this point, and with that, I will see you guys, I assume, on Monday the trial resumes, and I will see you then.